If you're just an average Hylian who has no battery belt, no magic arm, and no infinitely deep pockets, is it possible to make it all the way to the Great Sky Island? Today we will do our best to find out. But first, what qualities, or rather limitations, are there for an average Hylian like me? Well, let's dive in. Let's start with the big one. There's no way I can reach anything without the use of Zonai devices, but there's one major problem. How do I power them? As I mentioned, I don't have a fancy power cell belt, so if I'm gonna use a Zonai device, I'll need an external battery to power it. That means I can't just build an airbike or continually stick rockets to a hoverstone, as the small Zonai batteries don't have enough charge to make a direct trip to the Great Sky Island. But you may be thinking, well, if someone gave you a ton of batteries, or perhaps with a big battery, you could make it. Well, not so fast. First of all, big batteries aren't really accessible to an average Hylian, as they're located in areas that are difficult to reach, such as labyrinths. This also brings us to a second limitation. I'm limited by physical space. I can't just stuff 40 Zonai capsules in my pocket that can be pulled out when needed. Speaking of, given their size, I can, at most, carry one capsule at a time, along with whatever else I can fit into a large backpack or on my person. The third limitation is my physical strength. I can't lift extremely large and heavy objects on my own, so if something substantial needs to be moved, I have to find a way to move that thing in a way that is available to the average person. Not all of us have a magic arm that can lift a whole tree. Additionally, research has shown that the average person can only hang onto a bar for about 20 to 30 seconds, depending on their fitness level. So, for example, I can't hang onto a paraglider for any longer than that. At best, I can only use a paraglider to clear small gaps or drop safely from a large, but not too large, height. It's also important to keep in mind that my body can't withstand direct powerful forces, so launching myself out of a Skyview tower or strapping a rocket to my arm is out of the question. Then, for the sake of furthering Hylian research, I have to make the journey up on my own volition. No Rito airlifts or Link hoverbike taxis are allowed. The point of this expedition is to prove that just about anyone can do it on their own. In fact, if you're one of the average Hyruleans in my Average Hyruleans Discord server, I've got a special challenge with a rupee prize at the end. And if you're not, that's on you. The server is free to join, and we've got all kinds of fun events, role-playing adventures, and more going on there. So click the link in the description to join after you've watched this video. I'll remind you again at the end. So, with all those limitations in mind, we can start by addressing the first question: where do we start our journey? Let's first analyze the obvious route, taking a direct trip from the ground to the Great Sky Island. I already mentioned issues with having enough battery power to go directly, but what if we use something that didn't require any battery power to function, like hot air balloons? Hot air balloons need a heat source to be activated, so lighting a bundle of sticks on fire is enough to get the balloons inflated and raise any attached platform into the air. So, is that it? Problem solved? Well, there is one downside. Hot air balloons lose their structural integrity after about 2 minutes, so while you don't need battery power to run them, they won't be able to take me all the way up to the Great Sky Island. So with that being the case, it means the direct route is out, and I'll need to island hop my way there. What I'm looking for then are island chains that are close to the ground that also extend close enough to the Great Sky Island. If we take a look at the map, we'll notice 3 archipelagos with potential: North and West Necluda, as well as South Hyrule. Let's take a closer look at each. Kakariko Village, which sits atop a hill, lies directly beneath the North Necluda archipelago. The pillars of Levia extend skyward, giving the impression that this is a great place to launch. But remember, we're average people, and there's no easy way to get launching supplies to the top of one of the pillars, let alone to the top of the cliffs. And even if we did figure out some kind of contraption to get things up there, it's a moot point. I'll explain. I sent some Rito scouts to the island to see what was up there, and they came back with this footage. As you can see, there are some Zonai devices on the island that could help us continue moving up the island chain. But beyond making small leaps between the islands using hot air balloons, there's no batteries to power any more complicated devices. We even looked into what devices can be found in this dispenser, but cannons, wings, springs, and time bombs won't help us make the big jump to the GSI. The West Necluda archipelago is in a similar situation. The lower sky islands are actually quite reachable if you can get a hot air balloon to the top of the dueling peaks, but the archipelago is also short on necessary supplies to keep moving. You might argue that I could just bring extra batteries up from the surface, but remember, I can only carry one Zonai capsule on my person, and while navigating a balloon laden with supplies is not impossible, there's a more straightforward solution to be found with our last option, the South Hyrule Archipelago. We'll soon see what sets this island chain apart, but first, let's talk about how we'll get up there. Upon closer examination, the closest floating island to the ground is here, over the Great Plateau. And the good news? There's a viable walking path that leads all the way up there. So let's pack our bag and start gathering supplies, because we've got a flying machine to build. Now is a good time to mention that although we're average, any Zonai devices we can access on the surface can be used. But how do we move all these heavy devices? Well, we'll get to that. But first, let's go over what we need to build our flying contraption. Most of the items needed for our flying device can be found at the Terrytown construction site. One cart, a rocket, and one hot air balloon. Additionally, we'll need 5 small batteries total and can get 3 of them here. We'll also need to place some construct parts in the dispenser here to get the one capsule we can carry with us, a fan. Speaking of construct parts, we're going to want to take 5 to 10 energy cells with us in our pack, as we'll need them later on. Groups of constructs can be found in various parts of Hyrule. As an ordinary guy, I can't face them head on, but collect enough bomb flowers from caves, arrows, and friends, and you'll have plenty of energy cells in no time. Getting back to our flying device, we can pick up another battery near the wetland stable. It's in a tricky spot, but you should be able to toss it over to the dock. Then, if we clamber up the side of this cliff near the base of Satori Mountain, we can find our last battery and a flame emitter. So, we know where to get everything, but how do we move all this stuff? Well, it should come as no surprise, we can use a horse. And since one of the key parts is a cart, we can attach some wheels found at any of these building material stations and build our device as we go along. You may also be wondering how I'm attaching everything together as an average Hylian. I explained more in a previous video, but it's possible to make some strong glue if you mix pine sap and charcoal from a fire. Look it up if you don't believe me, how to make pine pitch glue. Or you can use the same method as the Yiga to attach things together without the glue, but don't ask me how they do it, because I have no idea. In any case, that's what I'll be using to put everything together. Look, just go with it, okay? By following this trail across the plateau, you can pull the contraption all the way into position beneath the first Sky Island. There's plenty of monsters who will try to stop you, but you can either speed past them or sneak around them no problem. Before you get everything into position and lift off though, there's a few more things you'll need to be sure are in your bag and on your person. A strong axe, at least 4 pieces of flint, and a paraglider. If you don't have one, talk to Sage at the Hateno dye shop to get some fabric and put one together. Trust me, all of these items will come in handy later. So, before we lift off, here's a list of everything you should have collected just to be sure you don't forget anything. If you've got all of this, then make sure your device is lined up under the island, pop off the wheels, and let's get moving! As you near the first island, you'll see your balloon starting to lose its integrity. But don't panic. If you've positioned yourself well, the balloon will be high enough and close enough that it's an easy short paraglide to the island. Welcome to the skies of Hyrule! All kinds of mysteries to study and explore, but our focus is on this fascinating device here. This remarkable Zonai creation is the secret weapon that will get us where no other Hylian average Hylian has gone before. These floating platforms don't require an external battery to operate and float, giving us flexibility not found in any other device. But even still, they come with their own set of challenges. Before I explain that though, let's put a pin on the map for our next stop. Now that we've reached the Sky Islands, it's time to move up the chain. Our next stop is the dispenser on this island here, where we'll need to gather some critical supplies. But in order to reach it, we've got a couple obstacles to overcome. First, how are we going to gain altitude to the dispenser island, given that our original flying device is broken and fallen back to the surface? As I mentioned, our salvation lies in the floating Zonai platforms, specifically this one. In addition to the 2 hot air balloons, batteries, and flame emitters attached to the platform, we can find 2 more balloons and 2 more batteries lying on the ground nearby. Before we can put everything together though, we can go ahead and remove the attached flame emitters, as we're not going to need them. They eat up too much battery, and we're going to need to save as much battery as possible if we're gonna make it all the way to the Great Sky Island. But I'm sure you see the problem. We didn't bring any wood. What we did bring though is an axe. By chopping down the 2 nearby trees, we can get 2 to 4 bundles of wood, which we will use to lift our platform up to the dispenser island. You should also get a korok frond from the trees, which you'll need to pocket for later. So let's move our platform into place and float on up, right? Well, not so fast, Hercules. We've got a couple problems. For one, there's no way we're getting past this cubic giant. He'd bound us into oblivion before we could float away. And secondly, how are you gonna move the big heavy platform? Push it with your puny mortal arms? Well, if you remember our packing list from earlier, you'll know that now is the time to pop open that capsule and put our Zonai fan to work. Take your time and get all the wood, balloons, batteries, and fan ready. Then use some of the packed flint to light just 2 of the bundles of wood and take to the sky. Eventually, 2 of your balloons will burst, but the platform will hover in place. Get the other 2 lit, then secure and start the fan to get closer to the island. Do your best to conserve your battery, and you'll soon find yourself standing 1 step closer to your goal. But pay close attention, because the path forward isn't as direct as you might think. In fact, our next stop will be here, so let's look at how we get there. Now before you disembark the platform to go use the dispenser, make sure your platform hasn't floated too high, and you'll be able to get back on it. If things are looking good, make your way to the dispenser, pull out 5 of your Zonai charges, and toss them in. This dispenser gives a variety of items, but the ones we're after are rockets. Our goal here is to get at least 4 rockets, but if you have enough Zonai charges or luck to get more, it doesn't hurt. Now some of you watching may be thinking, but yeah, you said you could only carry 1 capsule at a time. How are you gonna move all these rockets? Well, don't you worry, I've thought that through. Since we can only carry 1 in our pack at a time, we'll carry each capsule 1 at a time and secure it while still in its capsule to our floating platform. Once you've got all your capsules securely fastened, we're ready to make the jump and give yourself a little bit of extra height if you need it. Before we leap on over though, we need to address one of the major shortcomings of these floating platforms. Let's say you got lucky and have a ton of rockets at your disposal. You might be thinking, isn't this enough to go all the way to the GSI? What's the deal with the pit stop? Well, something to know is that while these platforms won't fall apart after a period of time, they will fall apart after they've traveled a certain distance away from their point of origin. And unfortunately, this particular platform doesn't have a long enough leash to take us all the way to our end goal. But it is enough to get us to our next stop. So take out a rocket and aim true, because we've only got 1 rocket's worth of battery to spend on this. Let's go! If your aim was right, you should be positioned over, or at least close to, the next island. If you aren't above it, use the fan to position yourself, but conserve as much battery as possible. Our next stop will be here, but this floating platform isn't the vessel that's going to get us there. Detach whatever batteries you have left, as well as the remaining rocket capsules. Toss them down to the island, and try to drop them into the pool of water so they don't go bouncing off over the edge. With everything safely below, jump off yourself and use your paraglider to safely land. Fish your items out of the water, then make your way to the edge of the island. Here, you'll find several wings and fans. These bad boys are our ticket to the next station. The wings are heavy, but this one is close enough to the rails that a hard enough nudge will get it on there, making it much easier to push around. Attach your batteries and capsules to the wing, as well as one of the nearby fans. Push the wing close to the edge, then hop on. Give the device a quick whack to turn the fan on and push you off, then turn it off as soon as you're airborne. gotta save that battery. Manipulate the wing, hang on tight, and aim for the small pool of water. It's gonna be a bumpy landing. If you've made it in one piece, let's take a look at our map and mark our next stop. That's right, it's time to finally make the jump to the Great Sky Island. But stay focused, because we've got a few more obstacles standing in our way. As you glided in, you probably spotted the floating Zonai platform we'll use to take us to our final destination. A construct is known to station itself on this platform, but it looks like someone cleared him out for us. But it's good to be prepared, because you never know when a construct could strike. So as an average Hylian, how could we hope to defeat one using just an axe? Well, hopefully you've been paying attention, and you remember the Korok frond we picked up. You can disassemble your axe, attach the leaf, and blow those guys back to the surface. With the way clear, it's time to prep our transport. Hopefully you have at least a battery and a half left, otherwise, yeah, you might be in trouble. Attach your batteries to the floating platform, as well as your rocket capsules. Nearby, you'll spot 2 additional rockets that we'll want to take advantage of. Start the voyage by launching straight up in order to fully clear the island. From here, you can start popping open rockets one at a time, although there's still one more danger you need to watch out for. But for now, enjoy the ride. Once you enter the Great Sky Island airspace, your Zonai platform will begin to lose its structural integrity. While it might make you want to panic, stay calm. You should be able to get close enough to glide down safely, either onto the land or into the water. Once you've landed, pat yourself on the back and look around. You've gone where few others have gone before. Now it's time to start exploring and figure out how to survive up here. Should I make a video on that? Oh, and I didn't forget. If you join the Average Hylian Discord server in the first 2 weeks of me having posted this video, I'll be running a special event. If you submit a video of Link replicating my path, or finding a better or alternate path to the Great Sky Island, according to the limitations of an average Hylian, I'll give you a big rupee prize, which helps you progress on the server. By joining the server, you can also help me with future videos, just like all of these people helped me with this video. And a special shout out to Locke, whose suggestion inspired my route. If you've enjoyed at least 2 of my videos, consider joining the Gerudo Secret Club to help support me in making my videos. Doing so lets you join these cool people on screen and gives you a bunch of other fun perks. Boosting my Discord server also gets you a limited invite to the club. Click the join button below this video to do so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Talk to you then.